All right, my friends, Ethereum, Solana, and XRP. That's the big three that we're going to be going over today. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm seeing from their prices, especially after the flash crash on Friday, and what we can be looking forward to in the future. So without further ado, let's not waste any time at all. And let's start off with Ethereum. So in the last update that I did on Ethereum here on the channel, I told you all that I was watching this descending parallel channel. I said, listen, descending parallel channels have a very, very high percentage chance of breaking to the top side, but things can get ugly while you're in them. And so you just need to be very careful while we're in this thing because we can continue lower, but I do believe that eventually each price will break towards the top side. Well, interestingly enough, even after the flash crash on Friday, each price has maintained in this channel. Sure, it did fall below it at one given point, but it came all the way down. It found some really, really strong support, especially on some of these key liquidity zones from back here and right here, and then use that support to push back into the descending parallel channel, keeping the channel itself intact. Now, my strategy while we're in a descending parallel channel is very, very simple. I focus on holding, right? So I simply just know, okay, there's a very good likelihood that we break out of this eventually. So I focus on holding. And I also implement what's called a descending parallel channel strategy, which is the most innovative name I've ever come up with. Now, the descending parallel channel strategy goes like this. I buy whenever Ethereum's price is in this green zone. I sell it whenever it's in this red zone, and I just wait. And basically, every time that I do this, I have a 90% chance of making some really, really decent profit. Because what ETH and many other top cryptos have a history of doing is they'll bounce in this channel for a while, and then eventually they'll break out. And my plan, of course, is to be able to accumulate these lows, take profit at these highs, and eventually, whenever we break to the top side of this thing, then I can take more macro long-term profits out of my long-term bag. And so since Ethereum's price is still within this descending parallel channel, I'm just going to continue to do just that. I did a whole bunch of buying on Ethereum's price when it fell below $3,800. Matter of fact, if we go look at the school, you can see I bought ETH at 35.66 right there. I bought ETH at 38.90 right there. So I was really buying this thing as it started to capitulate down into this green zone. And now that those purchases that I made are in profit, well, I'm just going to wait. And if it pushes up into the red zone, I'll take a little bit of profit off the table. And again, I'll do this over and over and over again until ETH eventually breaks out. So yeah, sure, we had a really big crazy moment for the Ethereum price just a couple of days ago, but really nothing has changed. We're still in the same structure. We're still in the same channel, and the goal remains the same to maintain this channel until we can eventually try to make a breakout towards the top side. So for Ethereum, very simple. And that's what I think is going to happen. One thing I did forget to mention is we did get a really good signal printing for ETH, and that is the fact that we saw, of course, this lower low get created on the price, but a higher low get created here on the daily RSI. That's bullish divergence on the daily candles, and that is very strong. That difference between this being a lower low and this being a higher low means that this pullback that we saw actually didn't maintain much strength at all and lost strength very fast. And that is the reason why this got eaten up so quickly and pushed back to the top side. So this does give me some confidence that ETH might try to make a move out of this at some point. And so I do like it. Now, let's say ETH's price just immediately gets rejected and falls back out the channel. That's obviously no good. That's not a good thing, but I don't think that's a super high likelihood. That has a super high likelihood of happening unless some crazy stuff happens like we saw on Friday, which we can't predict. But what we can predict is that ETH is holding up really well right now and still maintaining its channel. On to the next one. So looking at XRP. XRP is a very simple story, guys. Very, very simple to the point where I'm going to keep this probably like 1 minute or 2 minutes focused on XRP. What we can see is that XRP's price was maintaining a very crucial level of support at $2.70 roughly. We bounced off support there in August, then again in September, then again towards the end of September going into October. Now, as we were maintaining this support, we of course did see that XRP was also creating some sort of descending resistance here that was sort of pinching its price into a bit of an apex. Well, as a result of Trump's major announcement and all of the manipulation that happened in the market, we saw XRP's price break down out of the structure, losing that $2.70 level of support and capitulating all the way towards $1.50. But just like Ethereum and the rest of the market, we saw XRP's price recover very well, pushing all the way back up to currently $2.58. And the current primary focus of XRP, in my opinion, is getting back above $2.70. This is a massive zone of resistance now because it was previously a massive zone of support. And so knowing that we have a massive zone of resistance sitting directly above our head, what I would say to do is simply don't do anything until XRP breaks above 270. While it's below 270, this is a massive threat that we could see some sort of rejection and a push back to retest some of these wick lows. But when we break back above 270, we have an actually really decent chance of making some momentum back above $3 or higher. So for now, I think the best thing to do is simply just wait. Let's see if XRP can break above 270, and then we'll go from there. But be aware that while we're below 270, there is always a threat and risk that XRP will pull back towards some of these lower levels, possibly as low as $2 or lower. And then last but not least, let's take a quick look at Solana. And what we can see is that Solana's price is in a bit of a weird situation right now, okay? what we can see is that Solana's price had previously been attempting to break through this golden zone, and it was actually doing a really good job at it, right? What you can see is that we had this previous high up here, and then that created this lower low. And the second that we created this lower low and started retracing, that created this Fibonacci golden zone, retracement zone, between $233 and $193. Well, what Solana did is it actually worked itself all the way into this golden zone, tried to break above it, didn't have enough strength, so it came back to the bottom side of it, and it started going range bound here in the golden zone to do what I believe was to build some support and eventually break out. But of course, as a result of Friday's announcement, Solana's price did nuke through that golden zone, pushing all the way towards $150. But what's interesting is that right now, Solana's price is still trying to maintain the support, use this support that it created, which was a strong support level, right? We found support there before, and then use that support similarly to back here to push back towards the upside. And so the primary task, the primary struggle for Solana right now is it determining and figuring out whether or not its price is going to be capable of getting back above and staying back above $192. If Solana's price can get back above and stay above 192, I actually think that's a good thing. And maybe its price will then be able to work its way up. Maybe it starts to push back up through this resistance zone, gets through that resistance zone, maybe breaks out the golden zone, and then makes a run up towards $300. That's very reasonable, but it all comes down to whether or not it can get above and stay above 192. You see how we tried to get above 192 right now, and we're kind of struggling to stay above it? That's a sign that what I'm talking about is probably accurate, and 192 is a very, very important zone. So the best thing to do right now, in my opinion, for Solana is nothing. I actually wouldn't be taking profit, and unless you're up a lot, that's totally fine, but I wouldn't really be doing much buying on Solana either. I would be looking to see whether or not Solana's price can break above 192 and stay above it, because right now it's above it, but it's struggling to stay above it. Can we maintain for the next 2 days above 192? Because if we can, then it'll open up the door of opportunity for Solana to be able to push towards a higher side and maybe open up for a move towards the upside, okay? So I'll update you as it plays out, because there are a lot of things that need to happen for Solana here, but the very first step is breaking above and staying above 192. So let's see if the next 48 hours spins above 192, and then we'll go from there. If its price does get rejected to the downside, it would not shock me in the slightest to see Solana's price maybe start venturing down towards some of these lower levels, possibly even creating some sort of more wedgie-ish pattern, maybe breaking back down towards this previous low around 168 to 150. So there is a threat, but obviously I'll update you as it plays out. I don't want to get too far ahead of it. Best thing to do right now, can Solana stay above 192 for the next couple days, and then we'll go from there. I'll update you along the way. So that's the quick update. There are things happening right now. Ethereum's price needs to break out of this descending channel. XRP's price needs to get above $2.70, and Solana's price needs to stay above 192. And if it can do these things, guys, we might have a crypto market that's opening up for some moves towards the upside. But you do still need to be incredibly careful, because listen, there are still very clear risks here in the market. For example, you go look at the hyperliquid liquidation map for all of these cryptos. Let's talk about Ethereum. There's a lot of liquidation still to the downside for ETH of people who can get decimated if these lizard people decide to push the price down. Solana, a very similar story. A lot of liquidations towards the downside. XRP, similar story. A lot of liquidations to the downside. So at any given point, what this market did on Friday, it could start to try to continue to do again and get pushed towards the downside. So now is not the time, in my opinion, to be going all in, opening up ginormous long trades. It is time to be careful. It is time to see if this market can recover some of that lost ground. And if we can recover some of that lost ground, then it's time to really maybe start considering going heavy back in and opening up for the upside. So I'll keep you updated as it plays out. And do not forget that if you want to see what I'm buying, when I'm buying it, when I'm making these moves and much more, you can check out the link to the crypto school down below, which is where I post all of my buys, all of my sells. And we have other coaches who are in there all day talking about what they're doing. We're doing workshops, seminars, live streams. Guys, I gave a 30-minute workshop yesterday on risk management to our community, and then we gave away $500 to help people out with what happened on Friday, okay? So feel free to check out the school down below, and don't forget that I do post a ton over on Instagram as well, where you can get more news, updates, analysis from me available over there for you, and you can see a little bit in my personal life. So feel free to check out those things if you are interested. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel on your way out, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.